Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to episode two of the All About IRAs. This episode, I should say, is all about IRAs, but episode two of our webinar series. It's noon, so let's go ahead and get into it. First, just want to touch a little bit on my company. And so we began back in 1973. My grandfather, Jerry Springberg, who was actually the first certified financial planner in Mojave County, started the business as investment insurance designers. Fast forward to today, it is my father, Brian, and I. We operate as Springberg Wealth Management with a focus on life insurance, investments, and retirement planning. A little bit about me personally. So I was born and raised here in Lake Havasu City, graduated in 2019 with my degree in economics from U of A, Bear Down. Uh, I became an advisor after I graduated in Scottsdale, Arizona with Equitable Advisors. These are my licenses that I currently hold. So real quick, just want to touch on this. If you ever work with a financial advisor or financial planner, please make sure that their licenses look something like this. There's a lot of people out there that might just have one or two of these. You want somebody that can offer all products to you because while they might have your best interest in mind, if somebody can't offer all products, you don't really know that they're doing the best for you. So whether it's me or somebody else, please just make sure they have these licenses. And then if they have their CFP or Certified Financial Planner designation, that's kind of a cherry on top. Because in order to obtain your CFP, you have to show proficiency in life insurance planning or insurance planning in general, really, retirement planning, investment planning, estate planning, and tax planning. So with that being said, let's get into the IRA stuff. So it's really going to be today a surface level, high level overview, but it's good information that I find a lot of people out there don't really know. So glad to be able to share it with you all. So an IRA is an individual retirement account, right? Individual. So this cannot be shared with a spouse or a friend or a sibling. It's only in one person's name. It can be a traditional or it can be a Roth. And we'll get into the differences in just a bit here. The IRS does limit you on how much you can contribute to an IRA. So for this year, if you're under 50, it's $7,500. If you're 50 or older, you can do an additional 1,100 known as a catch-up contribution. So you're 50 or older, you can do $8,600 for this year. It does go up every year or two to account for inflation. So it's always important to know the current limits. Um, Within an IRA, you can have a wide range of investment options. So a big misconception that I hear a lot of people make is they think an IRA is an investment. That is not the case. An IRA is simply the type of account that the investment is in, and it's how it's taxed. So an IRA can hold money market, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, pretty much anything under the sun. It's simply how it's taxed in the tax code. Now, IRAs do follow something called a 59 and a half rule, and this is because they are retirement accounts. So withdrawals from an IRA before 59 and a half are they come with a 10% penalty. Now, if it's a traditional IRA, it's going to be taxable to you as ordinary income, and there's a 10% penalty. If it's a Roth IRA, then you are only penalized on the earnings of the account. Now, there are more exceptions to this, like, first time home purchase would be one. And there's a number of others, but we want to remember that these are retirement accounts. That's not what this money is for. That's a last case scenario. So money that is designated for home purchases, childbirth, school, all of that should not be put into an IRA. So first, we'll go over the traditional or pre-tax IRA. So what that means is with a pre-tax account, your contributions are deductible. Now, there are cases where that might not be true, and What that looks like is if you or your spouse are covered by a retirement plan at work, like a 401k, and you make too much money, then you might not be able to deduct your IRA contributions. So you can see here for this year, if you or your spouse have a retirement plan at work that you're eligible for, you don't even have to be participating. It's just if you're eligible and you make over 91,000 if you're single or 149,000 if you're married filing joint, then your contributions might not be deductible. But let's pretend here that that's not the case and they are deductible, which is going to be the case for most people. What that means, let me go back one here, is any contributions you make to your traditional IRA actually lowers your taxable income. So, for example, let's say you make $50,000 a year, you contribute $5,000 into your traditional IRA. That actually lowers your taxable income to 45,000. And so basically by moving money from your left pocket to your right pocket, you're saving yourself some taxes. So big benefit there on the traditional IRA. It's also tax deferred while growing, which is another big one. So it doesn't matter how much you get in dividends or how much you make in capital gains within your IRA, that does not matter because you are only taxed on the money that you withdraw. So you could buy something for 10 bucks and sell it for 10 million within your IRA. That does not trigger any taxes to you. What does is when you actually make a withdrawal, and at that point, it's taxed as ordinary income. So let's say you take 10 grand out of your IRA. It's basically like you made 10 grand working. It's just ordinary income. Now, there is something called a required minimum distribution that begins at 73, also known as your RMDs. So basically, the IRS says, hey, we gave you this great tax break for contributing to your retirement, but IRS, of course, and the government, they want their piece of the pie, right? So they say once you hit 73, you have to start taking a small portion of your account value out each year. It's usually something insignificant, like 4 or 5% of the account value. The way they calculate it is they take your balance as of December 31st of the previous year in combination with your age and life expectancy, and they have a calculation that tells you how much you need to take. So this might not be relevant to a lot of you watching this, but if you have parents or grandparents that are getting up there in age, it's good to know how it works. So we can move on now to the Roth, and the taxation of the Roth is essentially the traditional IRA flipped on its head. So there's no deductions up front. The money that goes into a Roth IRA is already taxed. It's also tax deferred, just like the traditional, but the kicker is that every dollar you contributed, including all of the gains and the growth that it makes, is 100% tax-free as withdrawn. Tax-free. Awesome. It's such a great benefit to do a Roth IRA if it fits your financial picture. So very big thing there to be able to have tax-free withdrawals because if you were to, let's say, contribute 50,000 into a Roth IRA over time, let's say it grows to 300,000, that 300,000 pot of money that you have now, 100% tax-free. So big benefit there. The IRS does limit who can do a Roth IRA because of that great benefit. They say, hey, if you make too much money, you're not able to do a Roth IRA. So for this year, if you're single and you make 168,000 or more, you can't do it. If you're married filing jointly, it's 252,000 or more. With this, there's no RMDs, right? Because the money that goes into the Roth has already been taxed. Uncle Sam already got his cut, so no RMDs on the Roth IRAs. It does still follow the 59.5 rule, but there's also a caveat to that. So the 59.5 rule actually just applies on the earnings or the growth within the account. You can access your contributions at any time with no tax or penalty because that money's already been taxed. So they do allow you to get to your contributions at any point. There's also another caveat with the 5-year rule on this. So they say, the IRS says, hey, you have to wait until the longer of 59.5 or 5 years. Usually, this doesn't really come into play. A scenario where it might is, let's say, a 57-year-old opens a Roth IRA. Well, to get that tax-free treatment, they actually have to wait 5 years, not 59 and a half. So they'll have to wait until they're 62. But it's only a small portion of people that this might affect, just something to know. So which one should you do? Traditional is going to make sense if you need a tax deduction, right? You're trying to get as much taxable income off of your plate and lower that tax bill. Traditional is going to be the way to go if you qualify for the deduction. Additionally, if you have a shorter time frame, if you don't have as much time for your money to grow, to really take advantage of the tax-free treatment of the Roth, it might make more sense for you to take the deduction now and do the traditional. The Roth is going to be the opposite, right? If you don't need a deduction, you're getting money back on taxes, or you're not getting killed on taxes, the Roth is going to make some sense. Also, if you have a longer time frame, more time to get those earnings and that growth up on your investments within the Roth IRA, therefore, more tax-free money for you to use in retirement. Rollovers. So we're going to kind of switch gears here. A rollover is essentially movement between retirement accounts. The first kind is a direct rollover, and that's going to be usually a 401k moving to an IRA. Now, you can also do IRA to IRA. That's called a transfer, but if you call it a rollover, people in the industry will know what you mean. So why do it? First, there's no penalties. Since you're moving retirement account to retirement account, you don't have to follow the 59 and a half rule because the taxation of both accounts is the same. There's also no taxes. Again, same reason. You're going retirement account to retirement account. Consolidation. So this is a big one. A lot of people, especially today, you're going to have a number of jobs throughout your working years, right? You might have three, four, five, or more different jobs, which means a lot of the time you have three, four, five, or more employer plans or 401ks sitting out there. So what you want to do is instead of leaving a trail of 401ks that you have to try to track down, you want to open an IRA as a home base for this 401k money to go into. So as you go from job to job, you have the 401ks coming back from each job into the IRA. So you have everything in one place. It can be an absolute nightmare for some people to try to track down their old 401ks. Let's say you have three out there, company A is out of business, company B, changed names, changed business names, changed owners, whatever it might be. Company C, maybe you're not on good terms with them, who knows? But what you want to do is keep your money close to you and consolidate your employer plans into your home base IRA. Lastly, there's more investment options, which is a big one. It allows your financial advisor or even yourself, if you're, investment savvy, to have a much more customized and diversified portfolio than you can do in most 401ks. Anybody who's had a 401k, if you've ever gone and chosen your investments, you know that typically there's a list of maybe 20 or 30 different funds that you can choose from. With an IRA, like I described before, you're not limited to that 20 or 30. There's hundreds and thousands of different mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, bonds, all the above out there that you can hold within your IRA. So it's highly, highly encouraged most of the time to complete your rollovers when you leave a job, move your 401k to an IRA, and work with somebody that is a professional, knows how it works in order to do so. The second kind of rollover is going to be your indirect rollover. So this one is not nearly as common. It's also known as a 60-day rollover. But essentially, the idea is if you make a withdrawal from a retirement account, the IRS gives you 60 days to return all of that money back to the retirement account in order to avoid taxes and penalties. Now, you can only do it once every 12 months, so you are limited on the number of times you can do it. And also, something to note is if you do this with a 401k, typically it would have to be an old 401k because most do not allow you to withdraw money while you're working at that company. But if you were to take a withdrawal from a previous 401k, what they do 99% of the time is automatically withhold 20% for taxes. So, for example, let's say you take 10 grand out of your old 401k. What's probably going to happen is 2 grand or 20% is going to the IRS and you're getting 8. So in order to get that 60-day rollover treatment, you still have to return all 10. So even though you only got 8, it takes 10,000 to make that up to avoid any taxes or penalties on the indirect rollover. So just something to know there. But that's basically it, guys. Very high level surface overview, like I said. Where I can help is I establish IRAs, all day. That's what I do. I help people complete their rollovers, keep their money close to them, help them build a diversified portfolio. As a certified financial planner, like I mentioned before, I'm also an expert in life insurance, general investing, wealth management, pretty much anything with financial planning. So I'll leave this screen up for you guys here. This has all my contact information. You can call my office, send me an email, visit my website. And also, I recommend giving me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Every week, we post market updates as well as additional just good financial information for you guys to have. If you have any questions, you have my contact info, and I appreciate you guys for joining. Stay tuned for the next one.